shine for the whole world. Say I'm gonna shine. I'm gonna shine. I'm gonna rule the world. I'm gonna shine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Spicy Night. I'm excited to host today's Spicy Night. It's going to be a powerful one. And I'm looking forward to the conversations we're going to be having today. Wow. Check out what's going on in the nation. Should we call it a crisis or should we call it an opportunity? What name are we going to call it? But no matter what we call it, it's something that has to do with leadership. And we did not even know, about what's going to be going on when we planned today's Spicy Night, and we decided that this was going to be a conversation on leadership. So excited to bring Spicy to you today. It's going to be powerful. I hope you guys enjoy Dr. Jerome's music. We're going to have the opportunity to listen to more of his music on today's Spicy Night. And then we're going to have a conversation, as our host said. We're going to have a conversation with some men. We're going to have a conversation with some women. And then we're going to come together and we're going to have a conversation together in today's Spicy Night. What's our goal? Today we're talking about leadership. I thought about it when this came to me, that we should do this. And I thought about it that, it would be very good for us to be able to sit down together and just talk from the perspective of those who lead one thing or the other. Now, there are different levels of leadership. There are different stratas of leadership, different levels of responsibilities of leadership, different experiences of leadership. But everyone is a leader in one area or the other. But today, the people that I'm going to be having this conversation with, I prayerfully chose them. And I wanted to talk to people that I feel that are 12. My wife and I are actually going to be having a discussion with them. People that I believe that they are 12 most seasoned leaders, one of the most seasoned leaders that I know, that we have gotten to know over the period of time that we've been pastoring here in Chicago. We've been working together. Some of them are new, we just started working together, but some we've been working together for decades. And I felt that, wow, this would be just a good opportunity to just share openly, transparently, and just talk about our leadership journeys, how it all started, what we are learning, somebody who is thinking of leadership or somebody who has been thrust into leadership, or just give them some perspectives on leadership. So that is what today is all about. So I want you all to just to fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a wonderful conversation. I welcome those who are joining us on Facebook, those who are joining us on YouTube, and those who are joining us in Zoom right here. So without wasting any more time, I'm going to be calling on our first set of panelists for today so that we can start the discussion. So the first set of people that will go are, the men, not for any reason, please. No sexism. The reason was because we actually planned for the women to go first, but some of the women had some things that they said they wanted to sort out before. Women are so wonderful. They multitask. They have many things that they have to do. So that's why the men are coming forward. So are coming first. So I'm going to be calling on the panelists of leaders that we're going to be having today's discussion with. I encourage you to join us in the conversation, either on Facebook or YouTube or on Zoom. Put up your question, your comments, and then we'll be able to interact with your comments. So I'm going to call on the first person. Once I call upon you, dear panelists, you can turn on your videos and turn on your audios. So the first person I'm going to be calling upon, I have known him for many, many years now. I think about since 2004, 2003, that's about 16 years. And, we've served together as co-laborers right here in the city of Chicago. And, gone through so many leadership and life experiences together. He's a seasoned leader, somebody that God has raised up for just a unique purpose, and is working and stepping into it. Now in this season, even in a greater measure, I'm going to be calling on Dr. Omo Imokwede. If you can just show your face. Welcome to SPICEE Night.
Good evening, Pastor Lam. Thank you for that introduction.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah. Also, I would like to call on Pastor Olumide Ajigini, also somebody that I've actually known even longer, about 17 years. I think I got to meet him the year I came into the United States. I met him the second day after he arrived in the United States. Seasoned man of God. We have traveled nations together. We have traveled into all kinds of places, done so many things together. I believe that his experience in leadership will also be very good in our conversation today as I lead this conversation with the men. So Pastor Olumide Ajigini, please could you show your face and show welcome to SPICEE Night Exchange. You are muted.
Thank you, Pastor Lan. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you, Pastor Lan. Thank you, Pastor Omo. It's nice. It's a privilege to be here tonight.
Yeah. I also would like to welcome one of our other pastors at the City Light Church, Pastor Shegun. I've known him also for a very long time. I think I got to know him just about a year or so, about the year that City Light started, when he joined the church and he became a drummer in the church. And from being a drummer in the church, he's one of the pastors in the church right now. And God has blessed him with a ministry of leadership, especially in the marriage and family sphere. Where he's been ministering. You're going to be seeing a feature. We're going to be showing a feature of the ministry that he and his wife actually run now. Let's welcome him. He's a wonderful man, Pastor Shegun David. Welcome to SPICEE Night Exchange.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Pastor Omo, Pastor Lumide.
Yes, I have here another person. I wanted his perspective here because he's a leader. Well, not just in the church, but also a leader in the educational sphere. He's a professor at Northwestern University. And I've known him for a long time too. And I appreciate his perspective on, many, many things. And I know that he's going to contribute something wonderful to leadership. He's led our discipleship team at the City Light Church and other roles in there. He's a wonderful leader. Let's welcome Brother Sheyi, Professor Dr. Sheyi, to SPICEE Night.
Thank you, Pastor Land. Thank you, Pastor Omar, Pastor Shego, Pastor Olumide. It's great to be here and wonderful opportunity to chat with everyone.
Welcome. I also have David West here, a wonderful, wonderful man. I wanted to have his perspective in this conversation too. He's a communication leader within the family, leader within the church. And he has a journey and a story that I believe will contribute very strongly to the conversation we're going to be having today. So, Brother David, welcome. Wonderful man.
Welcome, Pastor. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And I have Brother Gus. Now, he has a lot of years ahead of every one of us, some years ahead of us, and having led his family for 35 years, and also a leader, in the business sphere, and also within the City Light Church right now, leading the discipleship, the small groups team of the City Light Church. I wanted to have his conversation, his perspective in this conversation. Welcome, Brother Gus. Welcome to SPICEE Night.
Since I am old.
That reminded me of what we talked about in the meeting we had previously, the LDC meeting that we had about showing stuff. Is that 6 or am I missing somebody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, yes. So I think I have, the 6 here right now. So Facebook and YouTube and Zoom, please let's welcome these leaders to SPICEE Night. So let's have a conversation. Are you guys ready? My first question to you guys is, what do you think is happening in the nation right now? We're not going to go political, but I want you to talk about it from a leadership perspective. What lessons of leadership are we learning from this? What is going on right now? Pastor Omo, if you can start this conversation.
Pastor Lan. When you were talking, I was like, please, Pastor, don't call me first. Don't call me. Wow. First of all, thank you, Pastor Lan, for this setting this up and for including us in this discussion. I would like to say that the topic of leadership is a very, very important one. Because as John Maxwell said, which is very, very apt, that everything rises and falls on leadership. Whether you're talking personal self-leadership, we're talking political leadership, ecclesiastical leadership, whatever type of leadership you call it, it seems like the development, success, and future of our lives depend on it. So what is going on right now is a very interesting dynamic from my perspective, not to go political. We have a gridlock of two leaders, two people who are very influential in their own rights. They have their own groups of followers. They have people that are dedicated to them. And they're trying to decide who is better for the nation. What is happening right now is a reflection. Like I did like maybe a week ago, it was just burning in my heart that when we see leaders, the leader is really a reflection of the collective followership. In other words, there is no leadership without followership. In as much as everything rises and falls on leadership, leaders will never rise without the cooperation or without the support of people who follow them. So the leaders that we have are really a reflection of the followers. So one side that has a set of ideologies, another one that has another set of ideologies. So it shows it's a reflection of who we are as a nation in America, how far we've come. So when we point our fingers at the leaders, three fingers are pointing right back at us as followers to examine who we are. So this for me is a very sober time because it's making me realize who we are as a nation. And I'm being very sober about it. I'm being very introspective. That if we've gotten to this point, then what kind of people are we? What kind of people are we? Then, of course, it points to strategy, the different types of strategy that these leaders have employed over time. It reflects whether or not these leaders have been listening to the cries of the people. I'll just say one last thing and I'll stop. Throughout this political season, a leader that's been coming to mind is Rehoboam. That's the son of Solomon, who had an opportunity to lead people, but because he did not listen to good advice, his kingdom got divided. So I think, the strategy of engagement, the strategy of listening to those that you lead, the strategy of connecting, those are things that I'm seeing. And I think without going too deep, what's happening now is just a reflection of who we are. There are many other things, that we can talk about, and I'm sure when others start talking, I'll think of more. But these are the things that stand out for me.
Thank you. I wanted just one more person to comment on that. Brother David, what's going on in the nation now from a leadership perspective?
Pastor, can I chime in on that?
Yes, I'm calling on you.
And so from the leadership, I like to one of my gifts, communication. So I like to use letters. And so the letter will be C. And so when I think of the current environment, I think of leadership in general based on 5 C's. And in this nation, you can look at which priority, which C is most important. So those C's would be competence, or another word from that is charisma. So a leader has charisma. Another C is competence. Another C is character. Another C is caring. And the final C is connection, ability to connect with followers. And so right now, without being political, I would say the current political environment shows that the current leaders, they have various strengths on some of those. So some leaders may be higher on just charisma, maybe less on competence. And if the followers value different things, then they'll be gravitated towards that leader. And so I think I would I view leadership in terms of those C's. And then I see the leaders that people are attracted to see, okay, which ones do they value the most? Some people value competence more. Some people value people who care. Some people, but I think all leaders have to be able to connect with their followers, as Pastor Omo was saying. So that's kind of how I view it. And I have my own feelings on that, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much for that good introduction based on what is going on. I believe maybe as we talk, we'll get more into it. But I wanted to ask you guys a question. If you guys can say it just in a few words, and I'd like everybody to have a go at it, starting with those who have not talked. Who is a leader? Pastor Olu, you want to go first?
Okay, thank you, Pastor Lan. So let me just give you a simple definition of leadership. It just came to my mind a minute ago before we start this meeting, and I will just put it in a very simple way. When we talk about leadership, so for me, leadership is a lead that will help you navigate the ship, when you are going in your life. Everybody in life.
Wow, that is a powerful one. I've not heard that one. I have not heard that one before, and I've studied leadership. That's a powerful thing. A lead that helps you navigate your ship of life. Wow, thank you. Thank you very much. Powerful. Gus. Leadership in your own words.
I'm going to steal somebody else's. Leadership is influence. And I think everybody's a leader. Everybody's a leader. It's just a matter of influence.
Thank you. Pastor Shegun.
Yeah, and I also heard that leadership is casting a vision, because that is where at times when we have set of people, there's a difference between managing them, managing a nation like we're saying right now, and casting a vision, a direction, and see, oh, this is where we're going as a people. And that is why when Pastor Omo and Brother David was talking too about what is going on in our nation right now, so that just shows us that as human, as a group of people, at times we want to have a sense of direction, a vision. What are we doing now? And they need somebody to kind of show us this is where we're going and we want to follow you. So leadership is that person that will not, they don't just want him to manage, but will tell the people he's leading that this is the vision, this is what we want to accomplish. And they want the assurance, at least so I can continue to assure them, like Brother Gus just said, influence. Want to use your influence to continue to encourage the follower that we can achieve this goal. We can get to where we are going. So just in a nutshell, at least is a person who casts the vision and carry the people along.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Powerful, powerful. Sheyi?
I don't think I have anything else to add. They said it all. So I think I completely agree with all the definitions. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Pastor Omo.
Leadership is a leader. Leadership is about a person or group of people that influence people by training them, putting the right people in the right seat on the right bus to where they need to go. So, and being part of that selective process, that training process, that transformative process, it's a very complex thing to define leadership. But at the end of the day, it's about a person who is in a relationship with another person, and in that relationship, the leader is required to help develop that person, train that person, select that person, put that person in a position to succeed in life. That's really the key goal of it. Leadership is about people.
Thank you.
Relationship, yeah.
Thank you. David.
You know, I think that my definition of leadership would be someone who takes risks and is willing to go for rewards. You know, a leader has to be able to step outside of his comfort zone because it's not only about himself.
Yeah.
And he's taking risks for a greater reward, for the greater good. And so that's what I look at is risks and rewards and somebody who's willing to go for that.
Thank you all. So I want us to address this topic very quickly. So you will see, so for example, we have Donald Trump, we have Joe Biden, you know, we have all these people that just rise up, different generations, even amongst us right now, you know, church, you have people that just rise up and start leading people. And then some people follow. This leadership stuff, I'm just trying to see, is it something that people are born with? Or is it something that people develop? Is it both? Is it that some people are just caught out for it and some people are not caught out for it? Who exactly can lead? Anybody can go right now that you feel you want to answer that.
Well, I'll just go ahead and say, I was watching this movie Ratatouille with my children the other day. It's about the rat, that rat that can, and the slogan in Ratatouille is anybody can cook. So even a rat can cook, right? So they are borrowing from that.
At least in the movies. So.
At least in the
I'm yet to see a rat.
At least in that
I know
world.
they can eat the food you cook, but you
yes, don't let the kids know that at least the rat in the movie washed the hand before preparing the meal. But borrowing from that, you know, anybody really can lead because leadership is not, you are born a leader because you have to be born, but leadership is also a skill that you can learn and grow in. So I believe it's both. You know, without talking too deep in it, there's theories, great man theory, where people believe that you were born to be, you know, if you're tall and just like Saul in the Bible, and you had a particular look, you were a leader. That's how they picked back the day. But no, anybody can acquire the skill. It's a skill. It's a skill. It's an art and a science. So you can acquire it, and it could also be in you innately as well.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to take?
Yeah, I think I since the answers are few, I can chime in at this point before I repeat what you're saying. Yeah, this is a question that I've pondered on quite extensively, you know, and initially my convictions were that, you know, people are born leaders, you know, but now I don't think that anymore. I think at the fundamental level, what leadership is about is identifying a need, right? And the ability to identify a need, and then to have the courage of convictions to pursue your ideas to address that need. Now, if you think about it from that perspective, obviously in the context of people, you're galvanizing people. They're the ones that have those needs, and you're trying to address it. So if you think about it from this fundamental perspective, right, then there is no connection to pedigree, right? Because it's substantively problem solving. So you identify a need, you have the courage of convictions that an approach to address that need, that you pursue, you follow through. So when I look at, for example, leaders like Martin Luther King, I'm able to look at Martin Luther King Jr. I'm able to look at him from the perspective of someone who identified a problem, right? And understood here's an approach that potentially would work. And he had the staying power and the courage of convictions to stick through it, even when it was unpopular. So Martin Luther King today is a popular figure, but at the time he was pushing his ideas, he was unpopular. right? So the courage of conviction and the patience to follow through on those ideas until you see the logical conclusion that you envision. So that's how I see it. Now, obviously, there are some folks who are predisposed to learning the art and the culture of leadership. So you're born around it, you went to school, you have some background in that subject, but all of us are leaders if we can break leadership down to identifying the need, having a courage of conviction to pursue our ideas, to address those needs, and ultimately see through to the end.
Wow.
I would agree with that, but then I would also I guess have another opposing view, and this is a character that I think a leader has to have. I think a leader has to have identify that need and have a confidence to say, I can address that need and I'm going to share it. And also that leader must be able to connect with other people to galvanize them. But then a leader has to be able to withstand opposition, because a leader is going to face opposition. And so although everybody can be a leader and can develop the skills, not everybody will, because some of us will not have the conviction or the character to be able to withstand opposition or say, that's not what I want to do. I would rather stay in the background. That's not a slight on them, but that's just not their priority. So I think that not everybody can be a leader, because not everybody will be able to, or to withstand that opposition and to galvanize the support, because you cannot just stand opposition by yourself. You can't just be a lone warrior. You have to be able to galvanize a team around you to be an effective leader or visionary. So I think that skills can be developed, but not everybody will be a leader.
Okay, I think Jones has something to say. Yeah, go ahead.
I think all leaders are born. I haven't met an unborn leader, so you gotta be born.
You have to be born first.
Unborn leaders. So leaders are born, and then I think based on the scripture, all of us were born with a purpose that was built inside of us, and we do have the ability to carry that out if we're willing to be obedient to that call. And we've got a great training called Leading Lights. Everybody listening to this, come and go through Leading Lights so you can learn about your God-given purpose and how to mobilize yourself to take advantage of that. Matter of fact, we got a Zoom meeting this Saturday at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Plugging it in. So this is where we are right now. So you guys are saying, if we put it all together, that everybody can be a leader, really, because if you are born, you will need to exert a level of influence. You are going to have to lead something, whether it's your family, but even yourself. There's something called self-leadership, right? So everybody is born a leader, as everybody can lead. Leadership is something that can be developed, but some people can have a higher propensity to leadership than some.
Yes.
Right? You know, because you've noticed that people that are born in the month of August,
Especially September.
You know, I always have to throw that in. You know, you see all the leaders, you study the leaders of the world. Yes, Gus. You know, you notice that a whole lot of them, they were born in the month of August. You know, so there must be something about when you are born, you know, that month, there's a leadership that is put on you. But you know, but jokes apart, I was saying that some people have some propensity for it, but even those who have the propensity for it, like somebody put in the chat that everybody is born a leader, but not everyone becomes a leader. So meaning that even though you have the propensity, if you don't develop it, you'll still not be able to lead. Now, before I want to get into some personal, you know, your own personal experience, but before I do that, I just want us to talk about what is the value of leadership? Why do we need leaders? In the church, why do we need leaders? In the world, why do we need leaders? Why can't everybody just do things, you know, on their own? Remember in book of Judges, you know, if you study the book of Judges, right, there's a phrase that they kept on repeating there in the book of Judges. And I usually say about the book of Judges, I say it's one of the worst, when I say worst books in the Bible, not because it's bad or whatever, because of the things that took place there in the book of Judges. You will see all the evils that you can see in this world right now. You will see there's gang raping there. There is a story of Samson. There's all kinds of things that were just happening. And there was a phrase that they kept on repeating in the book of Judges, right? In those days, there was no king in Israel, and everybody did what was right in their own eyes. In those days, there was no king in Israel, and everybody did what was right in their own eyes. And then you see all kinds of, then God will raise up some judges to try and lead everybody again, then they will fall and whatever. Well, it's an interesting thing. But I wanted you guys to talk about why leadership in our world, in the church. Why do we need human leadership? Pastor Olu.
So let me talk about that. Thank you, Pastor Lan, for talking about that. I think, there's something that struck my mind in the book of Judges and the book of Chronicles. We have a lot of judges in the Bible, but the Bible talks about a judge. His name was Tola. And the Bible says it was the only one that ruled for 23 years, and there was no single war in Israel during his own time. So I was wondering that how come this guy, happened to be able to rule, and there was no single war, and there was peace. Let me just study more about it, and I realized that the guy is not only a judge, but the guy is a prophet. Not only a prophet, is a tribe from the son of Issachar that understands the time and the season. So one thing I realized that the reason why we need a leader is because our God is a God of order. And when we can see from the beginning of the creation, the Bible says that the earth, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, verse 2, the Bible says the earth was without form and void, and there was darkness. And the Bible says the Spirit of God moved upon the surface of the deep, and there was light. And you can see that God gave us an example, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. And so for us to be able to, for people to be able to relate together, for us to be able to live heaven on earth, for us to be able to live the kingdom of God, because it's all about the kingdom. And in any kingdom, there is a king, and that has his own domain. And so for us to experience heaven on earth, that what you're talking about, this month, we're talking about this month as a month of experience. That means that we need a leader. And how can God direct somebody? It depends on your relationship, because it's very, very important when you look at it. But God created everybody, and the Bible says God made Adam in his own image, in his own likeness. And God gave us what we're supposed to do: to multiply, to dominate, to rule, to subdue. So God gave Adam, and Bible says God breathed on Adam become a living soul. So the reason why we need a leader is because that God wants us to live heaven on earth and show the experience. And God wants us to, if you look at even in the Garden of Eden, God created Adam, and God asked Adam to name everything in the Garden of Eden. Whatever Adam named them, that is what they are called. So God will always need somebody that will speak his mind, because he's a God of order. If everybody just talking and there is no direction, there'll be commotion, there'll be problem. So the reason why we need a leader is because we need that, because that is where God ordained it. Our God is a God of order, and for us to follow that order, if you look at heaven, the Bible talks about God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit. Everybody has their own dispensation, and they know what they're supposed to do at their own particular time. That is why we need a leader, so that we can follow order and we can bring heaven on earth.
Okay, thank you. Anybody wants to take that?
Yeah, I want to add on to that and use the symphony as an illustration. In the symphony, you have multiple instruments, and all these instruments are supposed to perform in unison to accomplish a particular goal. Now, if each person plays on their own time and schedule, what you end up with is noise. Right? What can end up being a beautiful sound, right? Collection of instruments playing beautiful sound, essentially is chaos. And that's because we as individuals, we are not inspired in the same way. Our visions of the way things should be, the way sound should be produced, the way sound should be played is different. Now, what harmonizes all our skills and our visions is the conductor, right? Who understands how all these instruments come together, right? He has a sort of panoramic view of that. And so he's the conductor that brings everything together and brings us together to get to a particular objective. And so that's how I see leadership. It's functional. You're getting from one place to the other, but you also, especially when leadership in the context of people, you're able to see how different things come, different skills, different tools come together in order to get to this specific objective or specific end. And so like Pastor Olumide said, it happens in the context of few individuals, and you can extrapolate this to whether the Bible or other kinds of interactions. I would say, going back to the civil rights movement, there were many people, many voices, many approaches, right? Now, some of those approaches survived and some didn't, right? And what distinguishes the approaches that survived from the ones that didn't? Leadership, right? And so we can see the same, and then historically we see that example over and over again.
Thank you very much.
I would also agree what Pastor Olumide said about direction. We need leadership, especially in the church, because we need single direction or common direction for a common purpose. And as human beings, we tend to have multiple agendas. As we all have our own self-interests, but leadership are able to manage and direct multiple self-interests for a common purpose. And so we need that shepherd, that guide, especially in the church, so that we keep aware, okay, what does Christ say the purpose should be? The purpose, the central purpose should be salvation, should be discipleship, to make disciples. Christ said that should be the primary purpose. We do a lot of different things, a lot of different agendas, but that leader is able to take multiple different personalities and keep it directed for a common purpose.
Yeah. Pastor Shegun. You are muted.
Yeah, I'm going to have to what Broshe said with the symphony analogy. So with that, I'm just going to say that a leader help us to identify, right, the at least the goal of what we're trying to achieve. They also help us to refine, because at times, like the analogy, everybody's playing on different. So now the leader will now look at it and say, no, we can refine this. No, we can have a better product. And that is why I said a leader is different from somebody who is managing. You can manage, you can just say, let's just get by. But a leader will try to refine you, make you better, right? They can place some demand on you. And those demands will make you to go the extra mile, right? To bring the best out of you. So leaders, I think we need leaders because of that refinement of what is going on in our lives. And also at least to kind of help us to align our thoughts and for clarity purposes again. Because a lot of people, they just have, they're in a group, then the question is, why am I here? So the leader should be able to help us to answer that question, the why behind some of the things that we do. The why are we doing here? Why are we in this state at this time? Why are we embarking on a journey? Why do we have riots? So the leader should be able to articulate that so that the follower, we can move together as a group now to achieve the goal we want to achieve.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, Pastor, more quickly.
Yeah. So leadership is about response to different abilities. In other words, it's responsibility. It's a big responsibility. That's what it's basically, all about. You have people who have different abilities or lack of ability. The leader comes and evaluates the different resources and abilities of the people and then responds to them in a way that they can connect and then they flourish. And then that whole process becomes a responsibility to that leader. The leader takes those people into their charge and say, okay, this is my responsibility right now. Or this, if you want to even move it beyond just people, this task that I'm doing for these people, or this thing I'm doing is my responsibility. The people become mine, right? And that's where the navigation and the direction has essence. It's not like you just say, go here, go there, do this. That's leadership, but that could be when you're dealing with people whose abilities can't handle that, you may break them.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a responsibility. You take it as it's mine and you work with it.
Thank you very much. So I know leadership is such a vast topic, and we cannot even exhaust it tonight, but I wanted to get into quickly to some personal, like some of your own personal experiences, right? Now we lead in different spheres. All of us here are like, we are heads of homes. We lead in our families. We lead in the church. We lead in our spheres of influence, so at work, at school, and just in different. We also lead in our community. So we're exerting influence in one way or the other. So you definitely all have leadership experiences. I wanted you to just open your hearts for those who are watching. And I want you to talk to us about some of the challenges of leadership from your own life. Like, what are the the biggest challenges of leadership that you have faced, or what leaders go through from your own experience in leading in the different areas, either at home or at work and all that. Just for people to just see some of these things. So who wants to take a stab at it first?
Let me go. So, Pastor Lan, thank you for that question. I'm just going to use my life experience just to share with people. I remember my first task as a leader was, when my elder brother traveled, and I just came back from boarding school at the age of 12, and I was told that, man, you're going to be the one to lead the house. And I have like 3 boys and 3 girls living alone without parents. That day, I went to my room. I started crying. Like, where am I going? Where am I going?
Stop a moment. How many of you have cried before in your leadership? You have wept in your leadership. Let me see. Okay, good. Only David. David, have you? Okay, good. How many of you weep a little, often sometimes, in your leadership roles? Okay, good. Good. Go ahead.
So that day I was like, what am I going to do? 6 children, even me, I'm a kid. How am I going to do this thing? Alone with no dad, with no mom, how am I going to do it? But I remember something that came into my mind that I just went to my room and I started praying. I was crying and I started praying. And, to God be the glory, God helped me. It's not a good idea, but to God be God helped me. But for me, one of my greatest challenge as a leader is just communication. Sometimes you are saying something, but the people you are saying it to, they're hearing something different. And number one, it may not be their own fault. It may be your own fault. It may be your own way of communicating to people. You may be saying A, but people talk about communication is 30% is what you're saying, 70% body language. So for me, that was my greatest challenge growing up. Is like I was like, don't do this. No, this is what you're asking me to do. So for me, that was one of my greatest challenge, communication. That's number one. Then number 2, for me is, people believe that you know what they're thinking in their mind. I mean, it can be very, very, I'm serious, people believe that you know what they're thinking. You're like, how come? They'll tell you, you didn't call me, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. You'll be thinking that you are sick. I don't even know that you are sick. You don't even know what is going on. You don't even know what is going on.
Am I psychic?
Yeah. So, I mean, no, sometimes, when I was growing up, it got me worried like, God, what is these people? What do you mean? And because I grew up in the midst of 6 kids, but one thing I realized is that, no matter how big the challenge is, I know we have, a bigger God. And one thing that have helped me, in this leadership is for me to be able to tell them, don't just think I'm a big guy up there. No, I'm just somebody like you, and I need help the same way you guys need help too. So, what you are asking for, I don't know it, but I will try my possible best to find the answer to it. So that's what I'm saying.
Wow, powerful. Thank you. Okay. Who wants to go next? Challenges of leadership. On easy lies there that wears the crown.
I'll go if no one wants to go.
No, challenges.
Oh,
okay.
Hey, how you doing, man? One I would say challenges of just personal is feeling inadequate, like you can't measure up.
Yeah.
And I've learned that that's a deception from the evil one, and has to be battled all the time. And God's called you, and you are adequate, and you can do it.
Yeah.
Another one is being misunderstood. Kind of what that. How did you get that out of what I said or did? And you just apologize and you just move on down the road and try to learn from that. And but the greatest joy is I just had it today. A person called me up and told them something great had just happened in their life, and they said it was because of my wife and I's. They were in our small group. They're in our small group, and we've been friends outside of that. And just how they've, because of what they've learned and how they've changed, it's revolutionized their life and made some things open up. So in the midst of the inadequacy and being misunderstood, you get some of those.
Yep. That's one of the, I mean, the joys of leadership.
Joys.
You know, the impact of the influence, but you know, the pain, it's a painful thing. Leadership. Shay, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so I noticed the general direction is in the context of a church and leading people. In that context, my context is slightly different. Certainly working at a university and dealing with students and advising students. And my biggest challenges were twofold. So one of them is responsibility, personal responsibility, that you're given some resources and you're expected to trade with those resources, not trade in a commercial sense, but use it and put it to some use. And that, you know, a couple of years down the line, you will be evaluated on how those resources were used. And then the other aspect of this responsibility is the fact that the lives of students are actually in your hands. The direction that their lives will take depends on how well you manage them and inspire them for a period of 4 to 5 years while they're under your tutelage. And so it's a huge burden on you to make sure you get it right. And it can be very daunting at the onset. So those are challenges I went through. I didn't always do a good job, to be honest. Some students came in as engineers, they graduated with their PhDs and they ended up in consulting. Some went into completely switched fields. Some ended up in academics. That's the outcome that I want, and that's what I want to pursue. But that's a big responsibility, and that's a challenge that I constantly walk through every day to get better at. The second challenge is influence, and how one influences others. I had to change. So I tend to do things on my own. I have an idea, I pursue it on my own. I'm not very strong on collaborations. But you're working in an environment where you're leading people and you have to collaborate, you have to communicate, you have to talk, you have to develop soft skills. And that was a challenge at the beginning, to be honest. I had to learn how to not be too serious about life, crack some jokes, have socials, and not be all about business. And so those are two challenges I've had to go through. I had to learn some things along the way to help me be more effective in influencing others, but also to be confident in my leadership that, yes, I may fail at the onset, but I get better in managing the resources that I'm given, but also using them to inspire people in the right directions.
Powerful. Thank you so much. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. Brother David, you want to go? You can go ahead.
Oh, sure. I would say one of the challenges of leadership is sacrifice. And because if you're going to lead with competence and to be able to inspire people, you have to walk the talk. And so whether you're so that means as a professor, you have to stay well read, you have to be stay on the current forefront, whether it be family, whether it be physical fitness, which is one of my leadership things. I have to walk the talk, which means I have to sacrifice. And even though I know to eat certain way to produce a certain physical outcome, there are certain times when you don't want to do that. But because I'm leading and I'm training others, I have to maintain my credibility by doing that. And then I also have to sometimes go to the period of exhaustion because I have my own physical training, but then sometimes I have to continue to demonstrate the exercises to, I may have 5 clients back to back, and I have to demonstrate it to 5 different people. So I have to sacrifice because I'm leading. So you have to always pour out. Another thing of leadership is leadership has to always keep the purpose and the vision. And sometimes you have to balance that with personality. And so there are times that even though you have to maintain those personal social skills, as Say said, sometimes the social has to sacrifice for the purpose. And you have to tell people something, some difficult messages that may not be popular. You may have to sacrifice popularity for the purpose. And a leader has to be willing to say, give difficult messages sometimes that other people may not like.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Pastor Omo, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I think everyone's leadership style is a product of your like environment, upbringing and stuff. For me, I'm the eldest of 6 kids. So I was always the leader. I was always the first to do everything, the first to experience everything. And with that, you know, you have this false sense of entitlement that that everybody should listen to you naturally because you are the first. Your parents listen to you, your uncles listen to you, everybody, adults listen to you. So my very first leadership position was at the age of 8, and that's outside the family. And I was the leader of St. John's Ambulance Brigade. I was leading 30 people, 30 other kids. Most of them were older than me. And, you know, there was this hierarchy there. They would, you know, salute me when they see me on the streets, like I was respected at a very young age. So with that comes false sense of entitlement that people must respect me. And so when I went to high school, some of these guys that were my subordinates in the brigade were now my seniors in school. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? So it was a very awkward kind of situation. So I lived in that kind of space where, you know, and then when I grew older, I, you know, led in other groups as well. So you come off thinking that, you know, you want to be heard. And the issue or a challenge, if that's your mindset of leadership, is you become there's a lack of flexibility there, because if over the years you've led a certain way and people have responded to you a certain way, you kind of carry that leadership style to all the other spaces that you've been in. So I remember the very first opposition I had, and it was very bad, you know, because it was a clash. And so that was the first attack on my leadership style. And I believe that God began to allow me to experience such like that because He wanted me to address it. And then it became, you know, climax when I came to City Light, and through Pastor Lance's leadership, I was able to learn, because I was now dealing with people that not necessarily knew who I was, not necessarily my context, but I had to learn flexibility. Second thing is engaging. How do you engage people? You know, how do you take somebody from just being a stranger or just being a positional leader to actually having good influence on them? That's a challenge. And then the third challenge is, you know, like we see, Gus was talking about the fruit of benefit of leadership. That's also, it could be a blessing and it could be a curse. Because when you see, I mean, one thing that really grieves me is when I see people that have been working with me that are not really walking in the fullness of what God has called them. Oh man, it's like grieved, because I feel like I failed, or like whatever we've done has not had an effect. So those are some challenges there, like evaluating where I was before as a leader, going through all the different leadership experiences, and matching that with current situation, current context, people's behaviors, and being flexible enough to work with different kinds of people.
Okay, thank you. So I know, I think Pastor Shegun had not talked or, on this, but, I want to ask a question quickly. This is what you have done as a leader, like, and then put it to, how do you develop yourself? Watch something, and then we're going to switch to the women leaders that will be discussing. And later, we will come back and we'll have a discussion together. So,
just like Broshe said, when you are leading a class of 120 students, and now I have to deal with all my professors. I have to go and represent them. And the Nigerian system is different from here. So the professor told me one day, said, I have lecture notes and they have to pay for it. I went to class, they're not ready to pay for it. Professor came to class without any announcement. He just came into class, we want to have a quiz. So then the class was like, we are not doing this quiz. Everybody was looking at me, they're shouting at me. So what am I supposed to do? And the professor said, you have 10 minutes to get this done. So now I look at my class, I'm representing them, and the professor is there. I was sitting right in the front. So the professor said, nobody wrote the test. The professor walked out of the class. I have to go and talk to him. Now to balance the diplomacy, it was really tough. So that was a very tough place to be as a leader, to deal with people you are leading with, and now to talk to the other side.
Yeah. So, so when you talk about how you develop your leadership, like just give us like a tip or so on how to grow as a leader. So,
yeah, at least how I grow as a leader, I think it stemmed from my upbringing. I'm the first child. I know in Nigerian setting, when you are the first, actually grow your.
And I was writing the exam, so I forgot to ring the bell, and the school was supposed to go on break, and I did not. So when the teacher came to me, I quickly changed my wristwatch. It was a big decision. I made a mistake. I messed up. I'm sorry, and just and
people trust leaders that are like that more than the ones that they feel doesn't make mistakes. They trust leaders that can say, I messed up, I made a mistake, and I'll correct myself.
Biggest mistake is responding to people out of anger. And so I've done that before and not proud of it, and really hurt some people that way. How do you grow as a leader? Read. Read and put yourself in positions that are uncomfortable so you can grow.
Leaders are readers and readers are leaders. That's right. Something I've never forgotten. Thank you. Yep. Yes, Pastor Omar.
So I've done many stupid things as a leader, many. One would just be every time I said, do you know who I am?
Ego.
You know who I am. You know who you're talking to. I'm your leader. I'm your bride.
I know that nothing is hard for you to do. Shining, then I know. Oh, nothing is hard. There is nothing too hard for you to do. My Jesus, nothing is hard for you to do.
Wonderful men at the City Light. It's just about keeping it real. It's to my own journey as a leader. But today I am not really going to be talking in that sense, but I have the pleasure of whom I've also known for so I consider them my sisters. You can turn on your camera, please, Pastor Ose. Hey, Pastor Ose.
Hello, Pastor.
The resident pastor, I have known Pastor Ose 2004.
2003.
3.
Yeah.
Blazer at her workplace, and she, leads people. She leads a ton of people. So you're really into this people business. So, hopefully we'll be able to tap more into wisdom in that area. Yeah. And also in your role as resident pastor, you also lead, several initiatives alongside with pastor. I'm just going to go right as I see you on my screen. Joyce Otua. If you can turn on your camera.
Hi.
Hey, Joyce.
Hi, good evening,
Joyce.
Pastor.
Joyce, I've had the pleasure of getting to know Joyce over the last couple of years. Joyce is a rising leader. She's a rising leader. And, over the course of her developing as a leader, I've had the pleasure of also having conversations with her. And, I know she's a very vulnerable leader. She's a real leader. She's also the Assistant Attorney General, right?
Yes, I'm one of
the Bureau of Civil Affairs. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you're so good. My family wouldn't
Okay.
remember that.
So she leads in the corporate world also. And then she also, she leads the small group for young people, also led. Interestingly, all the women on this panel were all leading a project together, the I Shine Women's Conference. So I'm sure that will be, very vivid in our leadership experience. And maybe we can even tap into, some of the things that we've had to do as, as leaders doing that. All right, welcome. So the next person I will call is Pastor Laide Ajigini. If you can turn on your camera, please. Hey, Pastor, you're muted. Pastor Laide is an associate pastor at the City Light Church, or maybe the first month after you just arrived at the United States. I remember, my husband and I meeting you and Pastor Olumide at a house fellowship, right? And, one thing that we're just drawn to was just the warmth that both of you carried, your hospitality, and how you just embraced and supported us right from the beginning. Leader in the business sphere. She has great influence in that area when it comes to business, hospitality, generosity. She also co-leads the outreach department with her husband, and she leads a small group for women here at the City Light Church. Just apart from that, Pastor Laide also is just, more than just, a leader or, business person. She's also and introduce Maya.
Tosin. Hi, Joyce. How are you? Good to see you.
All right, Maya. Welcome, Maya.
Hi.
It is good to have you on this panel of wonderful women. Maya is also a rising leader here at the City Light Church. Maya is passionate. She's passionate about the word. She's passionate about God's kingdom, God's people. She has a heart that just loves God passionately, and that shines through in everything that she does. She is a leader in her own right. She leads in her workplace. She leads in her home. She leads and teaches in the Bible Master Class group, right? And she's just had different opportunities to lead. She's also, part of the I Shine Women's Conference planning team. So Maya, you are welcome to this panel. I'm looking forward to the discussion we're going to have.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. So last but not the least is Pastor Peace Ezeka. Hey, Pastor Peace. Pastor Peace, AKA Frontline Soldier. Pastor Peace, I also got to know Pastor Peace, I think somewhere around 2013, when you and your cousin Ruby moved from Wisconsin. I remember, when you both walked into the City Light Church that day and, met Pastor Lana and I. And you guys were just more like scouting out Chicago to see if Chicago was going to work. I mean, you're coming from, well, Wisconsin, but you're from California, right? So, you know, just scouting and just seeing, well, was there some kind of possibility that this could work? I have seen Pastor Pete's, you know, just grow and grow and stretch over the last couple of years. Most recently, well, when you became pastor, right around that time, you also became the COO of the Life Development Center. And you literally just took that vision and made it real. You gave it wings. You know, you took it from something that wasn't flying to something that began to fly and actually move and gather momentum and people and resources. And, you know, I saw you come in as someone who was just trying to figure out what in herself somehow. But in the middle of it, you took every challenge that came your way and used that as an opportunity to grow and develop. Your passion for knowledge and wisdom is really commendable, Pastor Peace, and your grit. You know, I know you've worked like tons of hours. You know, we usually joke about Pastor Peace second home being her office at the church. You know, but you know, Pastor Peace is just someone who loves God. She's passionate about people kingdom. She's passionate about advancing the cause. And currently she is leading the Leading Lights International, right? Went on all those mission trips. She is an apostle in her own right, a sent one. So it is such a rich panel, such a rich spectrum of women that we have here. So I just want to welcome you all again. And I'm looking forward to the perspective that you're going to share. So the men did a lot of justice, okay? They did a lot of justice on breaking down what leadership is, you know, translating what's going on in the country, you know, looking at some leadership mistakes, how they have learned. You know, when I was asking Pastor Lan what the win of this, you know, this discussion was, he mentioned to me that he really wants the normal person or just average person to walk away from this conversation knowing that they also can be a leader. Okay, so we're going to discuss leadership from the woman angle or the female angle. Okay, and we're going to try to demystify leadership, because when people think of leadership, they think of this big word. At least sometimes that's the response I've gotten from people, because, you know, we all have a journey, right? We, at some time in our lives, we had to embrace leadership, okay? From the last segment, we heard that, you know, some people are born natural leaders, and some people just, you know, just kind of have to embrace it and learn along the way. So I guess my first question is this. In this panel of women leaders, what category do you think you fall in? You know, and I'm saying that so that you can identify with the people watching us, you know, because, you know, we've said it, some people are born, some people, you know, learn it. What category do you think you fall in? Do you think you were actually born a leader with those like genetic traits, or is it something that, you know, you've learned along the way? So Pastor Olsen, I'll give it to you first.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor Debo, and Pastor Lan for, you know, inviting me to the panel, and it's great to be on this panel with everyone. I think that that's a really great question, and for me personally, when I think about it, I think it's probably a skill that I've developed and I continue to develop along the way, just because a lot of people we've had a narrow view of what a leader is. So a lot of people have kind of put people in boxes, and you still hear it till today. You know, people say, oh, you know, if you're choleric, then you're a leader. if you're, and these are like the old ways that people used to describe different personalities. We don't use that any longer. But people would say if you're a choleric, you're sanguine, you have those natural leadership abilities, and that if you're phlegmatic or if you're melancholy, you're not a leader. And so I am not a choleric person, never have been. And I think that made me feel I was not a leader. But as time went on, I realized that we all have a responsibility. We all have things that are in our hands that we have to carry through and we have to live through. And we have responsible for making sure that certain goals and certain things happen. And so, yeah, I had to develop the skill. Yeah, so definitely not natural born.
Okay, thank you. Great answer. All right, Joyce.
Yeah, I'm laughing at this question because there's also a difference between the internal conversation you have with yourself and then how you're just perceived externally. So I've always been tall. I think I've been 6 feet since at least high school. I've always talked like this, so my voice is always commanding. And I've always been good at communication. So I could say every leadership position, since I'm the vulnerable leader, I'm going to be honest, every leadership position I've ever had, I've been convinced into. I don't think I've ever raised my hand and been like, make me the leader. But I'm perceived as a leader, and it has taken me a long time. And like Pastor Osa said so accurately, I'm still learning what it means to be a leader, and I'm still even learning to accept that title. So I think people see me and they see a born leader versus me only very recently accepting that. So I think that dissonance between how you're perceived and then how you receive yourself is interesting. And that kind of informs whether I feel like I was a born leader versus like someone who became a leader. I think it was a process. But like Brother Gus also said so aptly, if you were born, then you're a leader. But I always thought that was interesting that I never chose leadership. It felt like it was chosen for me.
That's a good one. So you kind of seem to maybe have a mix of both born and then learning along the way.
Yeah, and I think if we're honest, we all have a mix. We're all born leaders, but we all just learn what our leadership looks like.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was going to chime into that. I think that, exactly what she said. I just wrote down, I think leadership is our nature. Like we were born, like we have a purpose. So you have to have that ability to lead. But, the leadership also has to be nurtured. So in the same way Joyce just spoke about, I think about myself of technically always being in places of leadership, but really not internalizing and understanding that like, okay, I'm looked at as a leader and actually running away from, wanting to be, have those responsibilities that leadership, brings about. And so I think that for me is where the nurturing part, and even as you spoke and saying like, I just kind of threw myself into different things, that was, has been my way of sort of just building myself up. So so I think everyone is born, to be a leader, but there's also aspects of it being nurtured. And then there's also, aspects of, some people having sort of the characteristics maybe earlier on than others might find themselves later on in life.
All right. Thanks for that perspective. Pastor Lydie.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, when we're talking about a leader, we're all born as a leader, and sometimes it depends on how we develop it. And more so, you got to look at it, even as a woman, we have so many responsibilities. Those responsibilities draw you to the steps of a leader. And when those responsibilities were handled with the mindset, that a mindset of success, it brings that leadership in you. That, okay, you know what, if this thing is being handled successfully, okay, look at it not by your own power, just in your own little way of doing it. and bringing excellence into it, bringing, excellence and success into it.
Right.
It gives you the ability. It gives you the mindset that, you know what, this is possible. And in your office as a woman, even to people around you, your mindset towards everything will be, everything that I lay my hands upon, everything that I carry out must be successful. Of course, sometimes there may be a little drawback, but don't let that drawback put you down. Don't let that drawback don't let it just sit you down. Be like, okay, well, nothing is coming out of this. See yourself pushing forward, developing it. So in my aspect of leadership, we must develop our leadership ability, knowing that, okay, lives are committed to our hands, success comes with it.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Lide. You must embrace those challenges and develop your leadership. So I'm beginning to hear a common theme. Okay, so Maya.
Hi. So as everyone was answering, I was like, okay, now what am I going to say? So I think as a woman, you don't even have a choice. You're born a leader, period. We have to stay awake all the time. We do. It's no choice in the matter. You can it's either you can be married, single, you always have to stay awake. And with that being said, I think it's part of comfort level and trust. So if you're comfortable and you have people trust you, you're going to be that sphere, you're going to be a natural leader, right? So, just think about all the things that you're just so comfortable with. And then if you have people around you that trust you, you're going to fall into that leadership role without you even knowing it. So it's like you're going to be, so we're born leaders automatically just by being a female, and that's just my opinion.
Okay. So, I think I hear that conclusion that we all are born leaders. Now, it might not be evident or, perceived even by us at the onset, but, as life takes its turn, we must learn to embrace that leadership, or we must come to a point in our lives where we begin to embrace that leadership and develop it. So it's a mix of everybody's a leader, born as a leader, and then developing your leadership as you grow. Okay. All right. So leadership from the female angle. There's been all kinds of research, when it comes to women leading. Of course, it's obvious when you just look in general, there are usually more male leaders than female leaders. Now, I want you to relate it to yourself. What are the things that you have had to maybe face as a woman in your development as a leader? And I want you to have, just have it in mind for the women that are listening to us, for them to be able to learn some, development lessons, at least for those who are trying to embrace leadership. What are the things that you have learned in your journey as a leader from the woman angle, from the female angle, some unique peculiarities that you've had to battle with? And you know what? It's okay if those struggles, you've not completely overcome it. Again, I want us to be vulnerable. So do we all get it? So I'm going to give it to Pastor Osa again.
Yes, so wow, thinking about that question, I think that women, one thing that I personally feel like I faced and a lot of women face is the fact that we have passions, we have dreams, we have desires, and we want to see them fulfilled. You know, we are equal leaders the same way as men. We're not sub-leaders. We're not less than. We bring something to the table, and so we should have a seat at the table. And I think that a lot of times men have, and I'm not bashing men, I think men tend to have that bias against women in the church world, in the church community, outside the church community. It's there everywhere, where they think, you know, a woman should be happy. And these are laudable things, you know, taking care of your family, having a home, raising your children. Those are laudable, you know, goals that every woman, you know, some women, not every woman, women want to accomplish, right? But still, we have goals, we have dreams, we bring a perspective to the table. So people sometimes tend to doubt your leadership or doubt your commitment based on your sex. But one thing that, you know, I've discussed with, in my small group was, I remember Jesus, right? When Jesus came back after he resurrected, the first person that he appeared to was a woman. And at that time, in the Roman and in the Hebrew world, the testimony of a woman was not permissible in court. But God was making a statement because people had to believe what Mary had to say for them to believe in Christ. And I think God was posturing right there to say, a woman has something that she brings to the table. And I think that's something that I've faced, and I think women continue to face. And we pray that as the world evolves in the church world and outside the church world, we lean into what women really bring to the table. It's not less than, it is equal to.
That's powerful. You know, I was also reading a research that said that one of the reasons why women have not really been promoted as much to the area of leadership is because, first of all, that bias, and women also doubting their capacity. So for example, you know, maybe you're in a room full of women and men. You know, it's most likely that the men will brag more on their abilities and the women will brag lesser on their abilities, and the women will have less confidence in their capacity. And really, it's, you know, it's whoever projects more that gets noticed, right? If you have competencies, if you have qualities and you're not really speaking about it, you're not, you know, you're not confident about it, then you don't get noticed, right? So, I mean, I like what you said about women having something to bring to the table. And you as a woman must know that you have something to bring to the table, right? If you don't, if you're not confident in what you have to bring to the table, then, you know, nobody's gonna know, right? Okay, thank you. Joyce, what are some things that, so the same question, just.
Sorry, I'm like processing. These are such great nuggets. And I'm thinking back to law school and how polarizing I was as a person, because I would sit back and I would listen to the men and how they answered questions versus the woman. So in law school, it's Socratic method where you are driving the discussion every day as a student. And men answer the question, they say, the conclusion for this case is this. And when women, if they were to answer the question, they would say, I think sort of, maybe it's this. Even when I came on just now, I said sorry. So I'm like, let me just try to be as brazen as a man. And a lot of the time the boys were wrong, but the boys were bold. So it was interesting that when Joyce was bold, it turned into Joyce is emotional. Instead of passionate, Joyce is emotional. Or Joyce just gets too hung up on these things. Or Joyce is sensitive. And I remember laughing a lot after. It took a while to laugh at those kinds of comments, but I remember in one of the classes, the men didn't know that I knew all of these things that they were saying about me. And we addressed each other by our last names. And I remember answering a question the next day and being like, I know Mr. Thompson thinks I share my opinion too much, but I'm going to proceed and XYZ, just to say, I am here, I am taking up space, and I'm not intimidated by this idea that it is men that is a default of leadership. I think even when we think about leadership, we default to maleness, like men defining it. Unfortunately or fortunately, women got to go second in this panel, but I know Pastor Lan, and if we went first, we would have been able to define leadership for ourselves.
Yes.
But it's interesting that the default to leadership is the male definition, and I think leaning into your emotions and being like, it may be characterized as emotional, whereas as a man, it would be passion. I'm going to lean into it anyways. This may be characterized as aggressive versus a man being like forward thinking. I'm going to lean into this anyways. If I'm in a meeting and I'm sharing an idea about a case and a man is speaking over me, I'm going to continue to speak until he realizes I was first speaking. And it is uncomfortable and it literally makes me sweat. But again, I realize we have to take up this space because the default is that we don't get to sit at that table. And it's not even like, you can't even fault men because we live in a society that has created that sense of entitlement.
Right.
And I think it's up to us to deconstruct it and be like, we can all be at this table. And I don't blame you for how you've been nurtured, but I am saying it's now your responsibility and my responsibility to unlearn those defaults that we go to.
That's powerful. So we must be bold and we must assert our leadership, assert our uniqueness, and assert our voice. Awesome. Maya.
Hi, I have a story. I recall when I was brand new out of college. I had an undergraduate degree in industrial engineering. I was looking for my first job, and for some reason, God placed me in Southern Indiana working for a Japanese company. And, one thing about the Japanese, they wanted fresh people because they didn't want you to come in with your own perspective. They wanted to teach you exactly the way they do things. So when I went there, I was unknown about the skill set that I was gaining, right? I was just following directions. This is my first job. And, it's called a concept called lean manufacturing. It's in the manufacturing world. And so I end up in a manufacturing of creating car parts for Toyota. So I had no clue what I was, I knew what I was doing. I was learning, but I didn't know that this skill set was a hot commodity. So I was ready to, transition, get out of Indiana and come back home to Chicago. So when I put this skill set on the resume, I didn't realize how hot it was. I was like, wow, I must have got something here, right? So I realized I did. So when I went to my next company, they were very, very immature with this concept called lean manufacturing. I was pretty much the one that came out of the source. The Japanese taught me everything, how to think, from detailed perspective. So when I came into this new company, I was young too. So I was really, really passionate. They set me down so fast. They did not want to take direction from me. They did not want to hear my ideas. And they really, really was very offended that I came in and I knew exactly what was going on. And I even had to prove myself. I said, okay, well, let me just go to the side. I will create a white paper. I will design a process from scratch and show you. I did that, and that still wasn't good enough. They was able to take what I built from scratch, pick it up, and give it to employees that you can allow employees to walk in and just do the work without instructions. That's how I was able to design that process for them. So that's just like an example what women have to go through in the workplace. If you're smart, if you're intelligent, if you know more than your colleagues. So that was an experience for me that I never forget, because not only did they make sure that I stayed under, they even treated me so bad, right? It was an experience, and I was really emotional about it. But I got out of that situation, of course. But I wanted to share that story because there's so many women that has to go inside the workplace and feel uncomfortable because of your knowledge and because that you can show what you do, right? So it was, I can say that I'm glad that I experienced that. I can tell my story, and I tell my story a lot to young women that's entering the workplace. And what I'll tell them now is just to stay strong and stay steadfast, because that's what I did. I just wanted to, you hired me for this. I have the goods. I got the secrets because what you want to know, the Japanese just taught me. I'm fresh out of Japan, right? And they really, really did not want to hear anything I had to say.
That's powerful. So, as a leader, you have to, you have to stand your ground, right?
Yeah.
And don't allow yourself to be walked over, and don't allow yourself to be intimidated as a woman. That's awesome.
Yes.
All right, Pastor Peace, and then Pastor Lydie.
Yeah, so I think in leadership, and that's, in any environment, even if it's, I think a room full of women, I think women, we have strong, we have our own strong personalities and leadership styles. And so even trying to lead, maybe if it's all women, there could be challenges of just being assertive. And then the challenges of, being in an environment where it's male dominated, and having to balance, sometimes I think males want to look at you like, oh, this soft puppy, or just, supposed to be soft or something. But when you come off, assertive, then there's sort of maybe a tension that might rise up when you assert yourself. So those are the challenges that I feel like, I face just in being a leader.
Awesome, awesome. You know what? I think Pastor Emily has actually been in the background. I was just looking at Pastor Shegun's picture and did not notice she was there, so I apologize. Pastor Emily, can you turn on your camera and join us? This discussion will not be complete without you. So are you there? All right, so awesome. Welcome. All right. Okay, so we're going to go to Pastor Emily. Is also such a wonderful, wonderful person, sister, co-laborer, leader in the marriage sphere and, in other spheres, leader in her home, leader in her career, leader at the City Light Church, an associate pastor, who I've also watched grown and develop, still growing and developing in capacity over the years. And like I said, every woman on this panel should be an encouragement to everyone, that you can be a leader, you can have influence. So the question, Pastor Emily, I'm sure you've been following. Pastor Lydie is going to go, and then you answer also after Pastor Lydie. So Pastor Lydie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Debo. Based on what others have said earlier on, shout out to all our women as a leader over there, is that thing that men doesn't understand in women about leadership is that we come with a modern attitude. And we come with a nurturing attitude. We come as a leader, when we are showing our leadership, we show it with an empathy as a mother. So that is sometimes because men, they are so myopic, they just look at things in one way.
Okay.
But women, you look at it in so many ways that you bring your compassionate mind towards the leadership.
Yes. Say it.
So
I love that.
that's what they don't understand in
Yeah.
that's what they don't understand in in the women leadership.
Mm-hmm.
They just like, oh, that's just women. No, when women come to the leadership table, we bring our compassionate mind to the table as well.
Right. There's a lot of empathy. There's a lot of learning and developing. Then I can learn from your own experiences, and maybe I could take that, to start my own journey of leadership or strengthen my own journey of leadership as a woman. So give people a sneak peek into your own leadership journey, how you embraced it, and encourage the woman watching you right now, just from maybe a very challenging time that you had, that maybe you cried, well, emotional. I know I have cried many times and I still cry, times that maybe you cried in your leadership and you felt like giving up. I know I've heard some comments from people on this call. I would not mention names. Like, I don't feel like doing this again. I just want to go back into the back scenes. I just want to, be in the background. I know that's how I felt, as someone coming out of high school, being a leader. And I'm like going into college, I'm like, I just want to be in the background. I don't want anyone to notice me. So we've all had those kind of moments. So give people a sneak peek into your own journey as a leader, that very difficult time, like that you felt like giving up and not being a leader. And what was that thing that made you just continue to embrace leadership? Pastor Peace, I'm going to give it to you this
time. Wow. Yeah, that's a great question for me. I would say, just for me, my journey, like I said, I did not embrace the aspect of leadership. Just, it wasn't in my, just in my realm of understanding, like, yeah, you're a leader, or the concept of leader. But, like we talked about, everyone is born a leader. Now it's just developing, maybe in a particular area, that has you excited and moving forward to actually take lead, right? Because leadership is really, there is a responsibility. So when I think about leadership and what I would impact on other people who are kind of trying to embrace this, is embrace the call or the role of leadership, is just to know, one, you are a leader. That's number one. Like, really internalize it, understand it, and know that there's, of course, God. God is the one that's going to lead you whatever challenges comes up. And for me, what I discovered, just I guess, and why I didn't want to embrace leadership is because I didn't want to really myself. I don't want to be responsible. I want to be responsible to, be responsible for someone else's life, you know what I mean? So I think as a leader, there is a aspect of being responsible for, the development of others, being responsible for, what is given to you in your hand, you know what I mean? Because that's how it happens. Like, it just comes to you, in different ways. And even if it's something that's, that God is directing you towards, it's still coming to you. And that could be, that could be a scare, it could be a challenge, for you to say, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility to just take, whatever lead that it has to be done in that area, one step at a time. And so I would say embrace, that we're all leaders. And of course, ask God to continue to guide you whenever those challenges come up where you find yourself having to lead.
Wow, powerful. Embrace leadership. Lean on God, right? Have that mindset that you are a leader and that you can do it. Awesome. Pastor Lydie.
Thank you so much, Pastor Deba. When you look at those aspects, it's like, oh, wow, life is committed to your hand. And remember, even the children we have at home, life committed to your hands, good things must come out of them. So that is how it is when you are leading, that, wow, these people that God has committed to your hands, something good must come out of it. And that is where it comes with your compassionate mind now. But sometimes they want to take that compassionate mind towards them as, oh, it's so simple. oh, she's easy. Of course, you must be easy and you must be so simple. But in your dealings with people, let them know whom you are. You must be real. And like I said, let them know whom you are. Be transparent. And what will help them to be able to say, oh, indeed, there is something that we are learning. Because remember that your leadership is for you all to achieve a common goal.
Right.
And if that goal is not achieved, you as a leader is like, oh, this is a failure. But like remember when the men were talking earlier on, if at all there's a sense of a failure, but don't see it as a failure, see it as a time of a shift.
Okay.
That is it.
Thanks for sharing. So what I could pick up from what you said, first of all, is that encouragement of the fact that you're going to bring value out of somebody's life in being a leader. Thinking about that will encourage you to embrace leadership. You talked about nurturing, as a mother, nurturing children. And then, also having that right mindset, positive mindset. Thank you. All right. So we're going to go to Maya.
Okay, so like I will go back to when I said that, we're born leaders in which we don't even have a choice, right? As women. And I'm going to go thinking about some discussions we had in our women's Bible study. And what we're reading this book, A Rising Lioness. And correct me if I'm wrong, Pastor Olson.
Lioness arising?
Yes. Sorry about that. But one of the analogies that we were looking at really struck me is, about the lion and the lioness, right? And the woman is quote unquote really in charge, right? The man sits back and the women do all the work, but she's really in charge. So in any case, she's really the leader, right? So, but any case, we were talking about the analogy of, because in order for them to have all that scenery on TV, on the animal kingdom, they have to put a camera around the necks of the lion. They have to. That's the only way we're going to figure it out. So after years and years later, they want to take the camera off, right? So they sedate the lion, but they could not take that camera off until they sedated that woman. That's the only way they was able to get to that lion. So that just lets you know how much power women have, because they couldn't get to him without going through her, right? So that's just to let you know that not only do we carry the blessing of leadership, it's thing that we're fully in charge. So it's like you're born that. And like I said, it's just really finding your comfort level in order to embrace your leadership. Because we are women, we're all leaders, no matter what. And sometimes it take a little while to get out your shell, but it's just there naturally. You can't escape from it. So that's what I would like to tell all women, that you are a leader already. It's just figuring out where you're comfortable at to embrace your leadership. And it don't have to be big, it can be as little things as possible. You can be just a leader of, just anything. I can't think of anything, but it don't have to be big, and it don't even have to be a group of people. You just can be in your comfort level and you can lead. And that's what I like to say.
Awesome. Thank you for breaking it down that way. So, you know what? First of all, settle with the fact that you are a leader. The fact that you're a woman doesn't disqualify you from being a leader. And then start small. Find your comfort level, start, and then grow. Grow out of that comfort level and find, higher comfort levels, and just begin to extend, but, take it bit by bit.
Yes.
Awesome. I love that. All right. So we're going to go to Pastor Emily, Joyce, and then end with Pastor Ose.
Thank you, Maya. That was awesome. Along those lines, I was just going to say, you have to be authentic. You have to be true to yourself. I think for me, my struggle was seeing how person A did it and person B did it, and saying, well, I'm not like that. My voice doesn't project like that. I don't, I'm not funny or whatever. It's just like basically comparison. And so what I had to realize is that I just have to be me, and I have to realize that there is a tribe, or there is a group of people that would glean towards the things that I would have to say to them. And so rather than think that I have to be responsible for everybody, realize that there is a group of people, or a person or whatever that, would glean towards whatever it is that I would have to offer. So I would say that that was my hang up. But once I realized that I can just be myself, whether it's just monotone or my, soft voice or whatever the case may be, it's okay. Just as long as I'm being true to myself, I think whatever I do is going to come out and come across to other people.
That's awesome. That's a powerful, powerful truth. Embrace your uniqueness. I've heard it said in many ways, own your voice, own your difference. What is it if everybody sounded alike, did the same thing? It's, just going to be a boring world. So love that. Thanks for sharing that.
Leadership looks different to different people.
Yeah.
So, cookie cutter.
Awesome. It's not a cookie cutter. Great. All right, Joyce and Pastor Ose.
So I don't think there's ever a season that I'm not wrestling with God about this leadership thing and being like, do I really have to do this season? The biggest thing I could say is, if you wrestle with it, don't feel guilty about that. And the thing that has made it so that I can even be speaking today is mentorship. Find solid mentorship. I referenced Pastor Lan earlier in saying that I know if the women had gone first, Pastor Lan would have had each of us define leadership ourselves. Like, I have made him my mentor. I've made Pastor Ose and Pastor Omo. I literally call those two my advisors. When I'm speaking with Pastor Lan, he's never speaking to me as a female leader or a girl leader. Pastor Lan speaks to me as a leader, period. And that has made all the difference for me. He'll be like, Joyce, come on, rise forth, go up. Pastor Omo would look at me and be like, I know you don't want to do this, you're going to do this. Pastor Ose takes me aside and is thoughtful. So if you are a new rising leader and you're doubting yourself, that is normal. Do not shame yourself. I challenge you to have female mentors that have that perspective. I especially challenge you to have male mentors that have that perspective too. And your male mentors, as much as they can be, try to have male mentors that are not biased, that will speak to you the way that they'll speak to the boys. And it's not to say that women and men are the same. God made us different for a reason. I think that's powerful. Right. It is to say that you don't want mentors that are going to soften their advice towards you or feel like, or make you a victim of something that you're not. I think having male mentors that look at me as Joyce and say, rise up, be bold. I know it's uncomfortable. I know this is not what you want to hear, but be bold. It has made all the difference, because there are times we're talking to God and reading scripture, I can't get myself out of that fight. But having mentors who have been there, who are unbiased, who believe in equity, it has made all the difference.
Awesome. That's powerful. And thank you for being vulnerable and you're real with that. The fact that, as leaders, we don't always have it together. All of us are struggling in one area or another. As you're finishing one level of victory, as you're conquering something else is waiting. And then you still have to struggle through that and figure it out. But what helps is having mentors, having advisors, having, people that you can talk to throughout your leadership journey. So thank you for sharing that. And then over to you, Pastor Osa.
Yes, I just want to say that what Pastor Emily, what Joy said, what everyone said is so, so true. When I thought about your question, I just wanted to give maybe a plug for Leading Lights to say that, that's a place where you can really lean into your shape. And everyone needs to lean into their shape. What are your spiritual gifts? What is your heart? What's the passion, that beats in your heart? What are your abilities? What are those things that you're strong in? What's your personality? And also, what are your experiences? I think the entirety of that really shapes our uniqueness. And we all need to lean into that because God has, He has distributed numerous gifts onto the earth, and the earth is waiting for us to arise and for us to become the leaders that He has called us into. So just reminding people, what are those spiritual gifts? What's your heart? What's your passion? What are those things that people tell you are your strengths? What's your personality? And what is your unique experience? Like Pastor Emily said, who are the people that will listen to you? What's that thing about you that will draw people to you? What is your story that's included in God's story? What is the God in your story? Lean into that, learn that, know that, and go forth.
Awesome. That was just a perfect wrap up. And I can summarize it as self-leadership, knowing yourself, right? Discovering your shape. And as you come to fully embrace who you are and you can develop yourself, people will be attracted to the fruits that are coming out of your life, to the confidence that's coming out of your life, to the skills, to the heart, to the abilities, to the, your experiences, how you're able to transform it, to something that people can actually follow. So I summarize that as self-leadership. So, and definitely thank you for that plug for Leading Lights. You can discover all about yourself, what you've been called to, and how you can be an influence through the Leading Lights program. And with that, we will be wrapping up this wonderful segment with the awesome, lovely ladies of the City Light Church and Leadership. And right now we are going to be listening to a spoken word. And if you all can turn off your videos as we transition to the next thing. Thank you.
Friends and families, good evening to everyone. Good evening to my one and only boss, Pastor Lan. I want to talk about leadership, but before I do that, I introduce myself. My name is Jerome, but well known or popularly known as Dr. Jerome Phase 1. I want to talk about leadership. What do we understand by leadership or leaders? Leaders simply mean those who lead and others follow. For instance, we have 12 people with just one leader. Leadership doesn't come easy. As a leader, you must ready to bear the pain of others. As a leader, you must ready to take nonsense from the people you are leading. As a leader, even if God has called you out to do the right thing, while you are doing that right thing, people would criticize you. You know what? They don't know what God told you. You are the one God called. While you are leading them, you only come to tell them, this is what God have asked me to tell you, or this is what I want us to do, because you are the leader. Some won't accept with you. You know why? They are coming from different place from where you're coming from. Remember, if you are leading hundreds of people, they are coming from different background, different home training, different localities, and you are you. What you're teaching them may be new, they may not understand, and they will criticize you. But I tell you the truth, if you're leading well, later they will all realize about what you're telling them. Remember Moses in the Bible. God called Moses to lead the children of Israelite out of Egypt to the promised land. While he was leading, when he went to the mountain, top of the mountain to get the commandment, before he come down, the people were tired. And they began to do other things. And they called the other people. And they were like, we're tired. Where is Moses? He's staying too long. Come, take our jewelries. Make a God for us so that we can worship him. And when Moses came down, he was angry. I remember what happened. That is why as a leader, sometimes we shouldn't be quick to get angry. Because when you get angry as a leader, you can destroy so many things. What you've built in hundreds of years, you can destroy it in 1 second. One of the good qualities of a good leader is be slow to anger. Just overlook. My pastor do tell me, look away. When you see things that are not right, instead of you destroying the minds of people, just look away. But as a good leader, you must have compassion within you. As a good leader, someone who God has called to lead rightly, you must be ready to love. You must be ready to have compassion for people. Let me tell you, people are difficult to lead. It's not easy to lead people. And you cannot lead people without love. You know what the Bible says? Love covereth multitude of sin. If you don't have love within you, you cannot lead people. But when you have love within you, you will lead people rightly. It's not easy to lead. Ask me about one leader I've seen in this world. I will tell you, Pastor Lan is one of the best leaders that I've seen. You know why? He takes his time to teach people. He took our time to teach us, even when it seems as if we don't understand what he's teaching. He brings down his level down for us to learn. Pastor Lan, thank you for teaching me all what I'm doing today. You're one of the best leaders God have sent to this generation. I'm doing every exploit I'm doing today because I sat down under your teachings. You taught us in love. You taught us in compassion. You have so much knowledge in you and you gave it to us. That is what a leader should do. Ladies and gentlemen, no leader is permitted to go to the grave with all the gifts and all the talents and all the qualities God has given to you. Pastor Lan, thank you because you've invested in me. Thank you because you've invested in so many of us. You are a good leader. And I tell you the truth, you've raised us to be good leaders too. Thank you. Leadership no easy, sha. You have to be patient. You have to lead in love. You have to lead in compassion. You have to love people. Let me tell you, leadership, I can also define leadership as the heart of you having love for people, to teach them what you've learned, to teach them never to go astray. God bless you. Thank you. I am Dr. Jerome Phase 1.
All right. Welcome back to SPICEE, because the women took all the time.
Yeah.
You know? So we're going to round it up very, very quickly now. I would like all our panelists to turn on their videos, men and women. Let's have some minutes of interaction. See, the women took all the time. And, you know, they were blaming us men that were the one that took all the time. Is that not what we go through?
Actually, the men took up all the time, because I looked at it. You guys went past your 25 minutes.
We did?
So.
Okay. I was timing you guys. You guys went past your 25 minutes.
Well, just, you know, following. We're being good followers.
I know Gus had to step out. You know, okay, he's back. Let me bring him back in quickly, and we're gonna end this. So we heard the women talk. We heard the men talk about leadership. Wasn't that awesome?
Amazing.
Yeah, awesome. So it's good to hear both perspectives. So, you know, my quick question is from the women to the men. From what you heard, or there's something that you always wanted to say to, you know, the men, like men leaders and all that. What, you know, is there anything that you like to say? And I think we'll do the reverse too. Like from what we said, is there anything you wanted to speak to, or there's something you've always wanted to say to
always, let the ladies go first.
Yes.
That's what I want to say.
Oh, that's what you want to say.
Ladies first.
Okay, all right. So the plan was, Pastor Olumide, wasn't the plan for the ladies to go first in the program? What happened?
Let me answer that. So the plan was that ladies supposed to go first, but after talking to some of them, I know that, two people are busy, and because I don't want them to miss it, that's why we had to move their timing to later so that we can accommodate our mommies, aunties, and ladies.
Queens.
Yeah.
There you go, Pastor.
We had to put some, well, we're getting into, we had to put the babies to bed. And the man can do it too, right? I don't know why the men didn't do it, but that was
but the ladies serve multiple roles.
That's another spicy night discussion.
But hey, Pastor, the ladies here have more roles than we do. They're entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're mothers, they're wives. They serve far more roles than we do.
Best guys, they are born leaders. We are just trying. But you know what? Let me just say something. Somebody told me something some years ago when he heard about my leadership philosophy, especially when it came to women. He called me and he said, "You're an egalitarian." This was a theologian, like one of my teachers, Amodi. He said, "You are an egalitarian." So I was like, "What's an egalitarian?" Of course, I had to go study it. And of course, an egalitarian is somebody that believes in women's right and leadership. And I'm sure, being a city light, you will know it's that the women in city lights, rather than being treated like women, I think we go too far. We treat you like, It's like you have the same, Joyce was saying, you have the same responsibility like a man. It's like, that's it. Because I don't see, there's no male nor female, right? Spirit. We have different bodies because we have different functions.
Can I just say something? I remember crying because I was just so overwhelmed by something I had to do. And, beautiful Pastor Omo was with me and as I was crying. And then I cried, I got it out of my system. I did what I had to do. And he pulls me aside and he's like, next time you try to back out, because he thought I did it well. He's like, next time you try to back out of something, I'm just going to ignore your tears. It was no oh, poor Joyce, or oh,
no.
sit with you, he will hear you, but it's like, Joyce, I gotta tell you that you have to do this thing. Now, if you tell him okay, I'm overwhelmed, I'm breaking down, that's one thing. But it's I have never felt like I am a woman leader, even though I am, and I own it and I'm proud of it. I've just never felt lesser than, or just like I was petted like a child. Yeah. So I appreciate the panel for that. They talked about entitlement. They talked about all of these things. So I thought it was great hearing from everyone. I thought I don't have anything to fire back at the men.
I think it starts from leadership. Pastor Lan, you actually model the equal respect for Pastor Dabo daily. And so I think it starts from leadership. She's just not, in some churches it's like, oh, she's a first lady, or she's just kind of in the back, or she's your co-pastor. And so you model that respect, and we see that, and we take our cue from that.
Yeah, and that's so true, Brother David, because when you see it modeled, you see it lived out in the life. It's a true partnership, right? And that's what it's supposed to be, a partnership. And I think that's something that Pastor Lan, the uniqueness of his leadership style, is that Pastor Lan and Debo bring everybody in as, of course, you don't start off as a partner, but eventually that's what you become, a partner in what God is doing, in their lives. And some of the things that were said by our ladies really blessed me. And the reality is that statistics have proved, even when I did my studies, I added a dimension of gender. When I was studying the impact of you know, a particular type of followership on entrepreneurial leadership. And all the studies I've read, all the studies I've done, it shows there's no impact or difference whether the person is a male or a female. Yep. And that's so it was so surprising to me that, you know, it never factored, you know, whether the person was a male or a female. Of course, when you know, there are certain women or certain men have certain characteristics that they exhibit and all, but in the grand scheme of things, even empirically, you know, it does not factor at all, at all. So
it doesn't cross my mind, and sometimes I have to scratch myself. Am I overdoing it? Peaceful, you know, like I stretch out so much that sometimes I overstretch this. Because I don't even see her as a woman, you know, I see her as just a human being, as a spirit, you know that.
I think, George, you need to come on a mission trip with us. You understand.
The mission trip, you know, sometimes I see myself and I'm like, I'm just amongst one woman amongst all these men, because in these countries, you know, it's definitely male dominated in their leadership. And so, you know, being, you know, almost the only woman sometimes, you know, has really, you know, challenged me to look at myself and look at my leadership, look at how, you know, I might have to interact, you know, in the midst of a bunch of men as well. So, and then of course, as Pastor Lance said, yeah, he definitely does not, he just sees me as, you can do it and you just do it. And so, but I'm grateful for that, you know, I'm grateful for it, just as I spoke earlier in regards to how, you know, I saw myself, you know, so Pastor Lance has really been a tremendous, you know, vessel that, you know, God has used to really press me and push me, you know, past my own limitations, my own internal dialogue about, you know, leadership.
Yeah, and I think there's also something like Pastor Mo was talking about modeling, right? Even when we go to Africa, they are surprised. First of all, they are surprised at the dynamics. You know? And I'm the one doing the film. The person who will switch to speak, and then he's doing camera and carrying stuff. The piece will come and, you know, the roles are we're just changing roles. So they see that. Then the second thing they see is that the way we treat peace, like we just push her in front. All these men are sitting there watching her in some places where they don't even believe in a woman leading or whatever. And, you know, the command and whatever, and they will see us, they believe in us. These guys are powerful and all that. And they will see us sitting down and showing our respect. So I think that's also, you know, that also doing some stuff, you know, to people. I just think that modeling this thing, especially to our kids too, and to the people that will lead, is very important, because I believe that God designed it that men and women should lead for us to be able to have the full expression of himself, his full leadership. Like Pastor Laide said, there's something about women and their compassion, you know, and there's just something about it that we need that. And that's something that we study in our PhD, actually. You know, there's an article on it that they talked about women and what they bring into leadership. They bring their heart, they bring emotion, they bring compassion to it, which sometimes men, we don't.
That's true.
So, for example, when I was trying to vote, you know, I was trying to vote for all the judges, right? And then, of course, there was a lot of judges. I didn't know them and all that. I first started doing research and all that. After I'll just choose every African American woman there. At least they will be, and then they will be kind to whoever comes in front of them. That's what I'll just do.
Website for that.
So I don't know. I wanted to quickly say something about leadership that kind of goes across borders. That leadership is, in addition to something that can be acquired, it's a behavior, really. Like, so if it's a behavior, that means that it's something a woman can engage in, a man can engage in, children can engage in, if we can teach the behavior of leadership, how a leader is supposed to behave. And when we see it that way, then it becomes easy for it to be operationalized. Another part is there's an anointing for leadership. So, and that anointing, like what Pastor Olson was saying about, you know, first of all, you know, Moses, you know, modeling it. God says, I'll put some of your spirit upon those other leaders so that they can lead. And then what Pastor Olson said about when Jesus Christ rose up, the very first people that he met were the women. So they encountered Jesus' presence, right? And it was showing they believed first. So Jesus Christ, passing that spirit, passing that anointing, if you will, which is an empowerment, where he's alive. He's alive. And they ran back and began to proclaim. They were the very first evangelists of the resurrected Christ. So there's an anointing for leading. There's an empowerment that comes from above to lead, especially when you are doing things that normally you don't feel qualified to do. Like in the marketplace, when I'm leading there, like I feel like I'm not qualified to lead, or I can't do it, or maybe there's a project that requires my attention and I'm like, man, I'm kind of stuck. But God has never failed me. Every time there's an issue, boom, either just fresh wisdom comes, fresh understanding comes, or God will send people my way to help me. And then the last thing is accountability in leadership, because if you're not accountable to someone, you will have problems with temptation, you will fall. So the accountability, like what Joyce was saying about, having mentors, that is very, very key. Like people that can talk to you, people that can call you to order, that's important. And of course, if you have people that I know Pastor Lan is my boss. If I don't like him talking to me, so I like to behave myself very well. So that's the idea. Because when that time comes, if it's going to be a tete-a-tete, you're going to get tete-a-tate. You need to be accountable to somebody. You need to be accountable. Your sexual, how you conduct yourself sexually, how you conduct yourself, ethically, how you conduct, like all those areas, you have to have safeguards around it. And that is what accountability does. Or else you're going to have a big head and a thin body. And when your head is too big, you will tilt and fall.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One more, anybody that wants to say something before we round up?
I just want to say, I want to, Pastor Lam, Pastor Debo, thank you for, allowing us to speak today. I just want to encourage everybody to, to just be comfortable with your leadership style. Don't try to be somebody else. Just be yourself. Like when the women are talking in their own panel, be yourself. Just be comfortable with your, with your style. Like what Pastor Doyin said, that some people will listen to you. Don't try to copy somebody. The best you're going to be is going to be a copycat, and you can't be original. But God made you unique in a unique way, and you are designed by God, to make a change in this world. So be comfortable with yourself. And number two is just, value relationship. I can tell somebody, I can tell your leadership style, just being around you and just looking at people that you relate with. I can really tell, because, the reason why we have problem in this world right now is because the people that leaders surround themselves with, or people you surround yourself with, because they can destroy your leadership style, or they can help you, become better in your leadership. So value relationship and make sure, like what Pastor Thomas said, be accountable. Apart from that one, trust God, and always know that you don't know it all. Always try to, to learn more. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Very powerful. Very powerful. Any other statements? Cool. All
yeah,
right.
I heard something from Joyce that I was surprised to hear about, because I've always thought she had some great ideas, and I believe that ideas are means of leadership, and ideas are gender neutral. Ideas, especially positive ideas, ideas that solve problems, are easily identifiable. And so I come from an environment in the university where we have, women who are doing exceptionally positive work. Some of them are my mentors, and I recognize when they have great ideas. And I submit myself accordingly. And so I just want to encourage all our women that continue to pursue those great ideas, be inspired by God, to pursue your God-given ideas, and men will submit when they hear those great ideas, because if they're empty, they need ideas too.
Yeah, be bold about it. I'm telling you, men, we can have all the bluster and whatever, but yeah, when we see leadership is there. I'm any man that is sane. So I don't have to the leadership of a woman. That's it. Leaders is leaders. So you don't look at it from the vessel and all that. Leadership is a spirit. Leadership is an anointing. So yeah. So let's encourage one another. Let's keep growing in our leadership. Let's keep allowing one another to shine. If I will leave one last thing,